Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Deja Vu here, bringing you another StarCraft commentary. This is going to be set 2 from Samsung Con versus STX Seoul. It's going to be, for STX, it will be last, and for Samsung Con, it will be Almighty Jangbi coming out finally. Very, very frustrated last week. I watched Samsung Con versus CJ Entis, and one of the most frustrating games. As much as I love January, sometimes it's very, very frustrating to watch. She sent out like Shine, Sharp, and Turn? Reality? Turn? Something like that. Sent out 3 of the lesser support players for Samsung Con, and they got 3-0 to CJ. I was like, really? CJ Entis, you know who they have. They have Effort, they have Hydra, they have so many good players, and you didn't send out Jangbi, didn't send out Stork, didn't send out, you know, your top 2 players, and so very, very frustrating, but this is not going to be a game where that happens. This is not going to be a series where that happens with, even though Com won the first game and puts Samsung Con into a hole, Samsung Con is going to try and come back here with their great Jangbi to try and even up this series. And STX Seoul is sending out last, who's actually been a really, really strong player this year. And I was actually watching one of the streams last week, and a friend of mine was actually translating for the Koreans, and so apparently STX Seoul had, or perhaps still has, the best Terran line in Pro League, according to record. And a lot of that has to do with Last. Last won his first 6 games in Pro League and 8 of his first 9. So he was looking really, really good. He has lost his last 3 to Reality, Baby, and Zero. But still, that still leaves him with something like an 8-4 record. So still playing very, very well overall, and has been quite a revelation for STX Seoul as a backup to Bogus, giving them a good 1-2 punch over there at STX Seoul. But Jangbi, a fantastic versus Terran player. We saw that in the OSL, and we've seen that over and over again throughout time. Jangbi is very, very powerful versus his Terran opponents, and generally turns out a win. And he really needs one right here for Samsung Con. So I'm going to very objectively, not letting my emotions get into it at all, predict that Jangbi will win this game somehow, some way, and hopefully in some beautiful Storm or Reaver play will make me very happy. That's what I'm hoping for anyways. We do have last here in the top left of Jade in purple and Jangbi in the bottom left in red. This is Jade, the 4-player map. And yeah, there's going to be a 1-rack. This is going to be an expand. Yeah, I think it's going to be a 1-rack expand coming in here. 2 SCVs going out to scout actually. So yeah, it could still be actually be a factory expand here. With the SCVs going out, I thought one of those SCVs was actually going to prepare for a command center, but I didn't see the refinery going down. I was too busy talking about how awesome Jangbi is. Sometimes you miss things when you're talking about Jangbi. It's easy to miss things. But Jangbi is getting his range upgrade on his Cybernex core, just starting with his 1-base build, not going with the very quick nexus, which Jangbi is prone to do. Jangbi is very, very prone to go for a very, very quick nexus, very, very greedy. He is a player who cuts a lot of corners, so but not in this game. He's going to play a little bit more standard, a little bit more traditional against Last, and he does get scouted out. In fact, Jangbi hasn't even sent out a scout yet, so you know, one of those things where Jangbi just he plays it in his own world. Everyone has their things like their fundamentals, play to your fundamentals, and just play solid games. Jangbi just kind of does his own thing. He's just like, oh, I'm supposed to get 2 cannons against a 9 pool. I'll get 1, maybe, after I get my gateway, and somehow he'll survive. Or he'll be like, oh, it's a 9 pool, so I will get 2 cannons and then die. Like, it makes no sense. Sometimes I get really confused with Jangbi, but it tends to work. When it works, it works, and it's really, really cool to watch it, how he gets away with some of the corners that he cuts in with some really solid play. So it's kind of fun, but always entertaining to me. At least it's always entertaining. He does have that first Dragoon out, and he is going to head over to Last's base, and he's going to get a scout off, and 2 Vulture and 2 Marines are there, so Jangbi is going to be forced to retreat here. Second Dragoon is out, is going to pick off that SCV, but there's another SCV coming for a scout, but there's a second SCV behind his natural mineral line that he's also got to watch out for, and that is going to see the Nexus timing. Yep, Jangbi knows this back there. He's going straight for it. He's going to pick off that SCV that's stuck in the corner and is not moving. And 20, 10, dead. There it goes. So Jangbi picking off a couple SCVs here in this game early on, losing nothing as far as I can tell, but he has no scout on really. He knows that there's a bunch of Marines, and now he knows that there's a bunch of Marines as well as a Vulture, and he's going to try and keep his Dragoon alive, and I think it will. He's still got a little bit of health on it, and he's going to back away from the units, but he still has no idea really what kind of build is coming his way. For all he knows, there could be 3 Raxes back there. He could be getting turned, and there could be 3 Raxes and a factory back there starting to make tanks and Marines. Who knows? Impossible to tell. But he is coming in here with 3 Dragoons now, and that will be more than enough to deal with 3 Marines. But a tank coming up here in support, going to force Jangbi to fall back. And 2 of his Dragoons are highly damaged, so these aren't. He can't be as aggressive with them as many Protoss players are with their Dragoons. And a Vulture going to try and get a run by. No, it's going to back off and going to almost die and just barely survive. 1 hit remaining on that Vulture, but unable to get a scout off either. So it looks like both players right now just trying to feel each other out, trying to get an idea of what their army composition, trying to see if they can decipher what's actually going on in terms of the build. Neither of them really have a really strong idea of what the other is doing right now in terms of tech that's placed. Jangbi has no idea how many factories there are. He suspects, I imagine, the natural expansion, has no idea the 3rd base has just started, and on the other side, Last has no idea the number of gateways. He has no idea if there's a robotics facility. So both players playing pseudo-blind here, but they do have a decent idea of what their opponent's military looks like, and which is why we saw the robotics facility coming out with the observers. He does need those. He knows that the vultures are out and is expecting mines, which we have seen placed in a very defensive posture here from Last to start off with. Engineering Bay coming up here as well for Last, and he's going to be playing an ultra defensive game here, going with that very early 3rd Blaze. He's going to be forced to play ultra defensive, going to put down some turrets to try and keep some observers out, make it more difficult for shuttles to really abuse him, that sort of thing. And at the same time, it's also going to let him start taking his quadrant of the map and making it invincible. That's his idea here. He's going to protect him from everything as he starts to develop his tank count as well on that big, long ridge. So that's going to be his idea here as we delve out here into the mid-game. It's going to be a very defensive strategy, and Jangbi is... I am curious just to see what Jangbi's response is going to be. Is it going to be to take a 3rd base? It looks like he's thinking about taking a 3rd base, certainly, and not going to 2-base power, but we'll have to see what that probe does if he decides to put down an Nexus. He is starting to gather some minerals there. We do see that in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see the minerals on the left for Jangbi and on the right for Last, and there is his 400 minerals, and there is the Nexus. So we are going to get the 3rd base from Jangbi significantly later than Last, so he will be behind economically. But we do have a shuttle out with some zealot bombs and some mine clearing going on here as well with the Dragoon. So we will see some mine clearing. We'll see some zealot bombs. Perhaps going to try and get just slightly aggressive here. See if he can get some tanks to kill themselves, that sort of thing. And but he's going to be in for a kind of a rude surprise when he sees that there are a bunch of missile turrets hanging around, and that his efforts will be somewhat hamstrung because of those missile turrets, which are quite well placed, I have to say. I do like the placement of those missile turrets as it stands right now by Last. Really solid, establishing his cordon of protection. And here comes Jangbi thinking about coming up the ramp. Ooh, big mine goes off, takes out one of the Dragoons, and the tank in the back going to make it very, very costly for Jangbi to push up that ramp. Jangbi wants to get aggressive here. You can see him probing. You can see him looking around. His observer is very frantic and trying to find an avenue of attack. His shuttle is in position to try and do whatever it can to try and get aggressive here. And here comes the shuttle with the zealots, and they are going to drop off here, and they are going to get to one of the siege tanks, and the Dragoons do come in, and will they be able to pick off any tanks? They do manage to pick off one tank, going for the second, and they do pick up the second tank. More Dragoons coming in here. If they could just focus, he gets a 3rd tank, and he's... What? Wow, Jade able to bust up that ridge and does manage to take down all of the tanks of Last. Amazing! Absolutely amazing by Jangbi. That was awesome. Jangbi able to take that down. Now he's picking out SCVs. There is a siege tank if he wants to go for it. He could try and dive in there and pick off that siege tank, and it looks like that's exactly what he's going to do. He does manage to almost pick it off. He does pick it off. There is a mine that could go off to do a ton of damage. No, he doesn't actually pick off the siege tank. The siege tank just barely surviving, and January almost looks like she had a little shock moment, like how did that not win? But some more Dragoons coming here into position to try and keep on the aggression, and Jangbi just being very, very aggressive here, almost throwing away some observers here, but he is going to be able to take down a lot of a lot of mines, and as well as force a lot of SCVs to lose their mining time. A couple more siege tanks coming in for for Last, and they should be able to re-solidify his ridge here. Even though Last did lose a lot of tanks and a lot of SCVs in that fight, he is going to be able to re-solidify his ridge and be able to start getting his economy going again. But he's got to be a little concerned here after seeing how easily Jangbi just slaughtered his ridge. He's got to be very, very concerned. And Jangbi coming in again, playing extremely aggressive, and this is the kind of style that we saw from Jangbi against Flash in the OSL. Oh, nice find, taking off a lot of SCVs as well as the Dragoon. But this is what we saw from Jangbi in the past when he was really on his game in the OSL run. He was hyper aggressive, very, very aggressive against his Terran opponents, and really took them to task, particularly against Flash. He was excellent in that series, and again here today, playing very aggressive and doing very, very well. But Last is starting to make that ridge very difficult for Dragoons to walk up with the mines, with the just the straight up supply depots. It's going to be difficult for Jangbi to really get that big concave and try and work up the ramp. You can see that because of those supply depot positions, for Jangbi to work around and get a big concave on the tanks, he's got such a long distance to walk that those tanks will get so many shots off, and it's starting to get a little too risky. So we do see Jangbi backing off now. And I think Jangbi knows at this point that he's done a decent bit of damage. He's picked off a lot, and he's kept that tank count low, so he's in pretty decent shape economically. And he does have the bottom right base that he snuck in a while ago that I forgot to mention because I am a great commentator that says everything that's going on. But he does have that bottom right base, and that is really going to help him out as well. At least I assume that's base. I actually haven't seen them flash over to that. I assume it's a base and not like Stargates, which, who knows? Knowing Jangbi, it could be anything. It could be 3 Stargates sitting there starting to produce carriers. No, it's not that. He's got too many shuttles and too many other units for it to be that. But he's going to have the double shuttles. He's going to have a ton of zealots that are going to come in here with the double drop of zealot bombs in the back, and then he's going to come in with the dragoons as well. So this is really a very practiced, a very refined strategy that Jangbi's got right now. This is he decided this game to go aggressive, and he's going to stick to it. And it's going to. I actually think this could work right here. I think the double shuttle drop could really work. He's got to watch out because those mines could actually devastate his units, and that could end up just absolutely swinging the game, depending upon how that works out, where they get placed. But I could see him having a lot of success here, and it looks like Jangbi is going to try and bust up this ramp. There's just vultures up there, no tanks, so these dragoons are doing a good bit of damage, are able to pick off a couple of the vultures, but a tank does get into position, and the shuttles dropping in here. They are going to drop off their zealots, and they are going to pick off that first tank, and the zealots are certainly going to be able to hold off the vultures and the tanks for some time, and the dragoons trying to pick off the supply depot. The supply depot not quite dying. There it goes. Finally it goes down, but the dragoon's not able to get up the ramp to support the zealots. Some more SCVs are going to go down, but he's not able to really get the really big charge up the ramp that he wanted. He was hoping to get those 8 zealots with the shuttles as well as the dragoons, and be able to start taking down some more tanks and perhaps even dominate that position and take out that base. Unfortunately, not quite able to do so. Jangbi coming back in here with the shuttle, but that shuttle is too far dead to really risk jumping in there again. We have 8 factories right now for Last, and it looks like we've got 7 gateways, so more factories out right now than gateways on the map right now. And Jangbi with that 4th base and now getting a 5th base is going to start macroing like a fiend. And there is a shuttle. Looks like it's getting scouting information. I don't think he has a Reaver or a High Templar or anything. I haven't seen any of the higher tech from him. I think it's just wandering around being a threat and just being generally a nuisance. Yep, there it is. It's just Zealots being a nuisance. And we have some vultures wandering around here. They look like they're actually heading towards the bottom right. It looks like he knows about this base going up, so he's going to try and stop it. Little does he know that there's already a 5th base down there, and that he's got a couple cannons to defend as well. So those vultures are in for quite a rude surprise. They're going to walk in there right into the cannons and manage to pick off just 1 probe, maybe pick off a 2nd. Nope, not even a 2nd, not able to focus fire down any of the probes because there were some zealots dropped at the top left. Well timed there by Jangbi, so Last unable to split his attention effectively there, and only picking off the 1 probe. Goliath is out, is going to destroy that shuttle, so that shuttle should at least drop off what it has. So that way at least it's, it's to use what it's got before it dies. 3 more gateways coming up here for Jangbi, so he is continuing to macro, is starting to get arbiters out as well. And you can see him macroing very, very well. You can see he's got very little minerals, very little gas, and on the other side it looks like Last is starting to build up a gas reservoir here. Maybe needs to consider getting some science vessels out. Not only just because we know that Arbiter's in there, but just because he's got a lot of gas, and not a lot of minerals should start trying to take advantage of that. And science vessels are an excellent way to do so in any matchup, really, except for TVT. Oh, ooh, looks like we had a vulture drop here. Didn't see that for a second. Vulture drop does come in here. Looks like they did pick off several probes, but Dragoons and Zealots able to react relatively quickly and able to stop that. A photon cannon actually being placed as well to try and make that less of a problem in the future. So Jangbi starting to get his cannons up. We've got the 5 bases rolling, and last is definitely in a a bad position here as we get going. And this bottom right base is starting to produce gateways, so we are going to have a double reinforcement route. Kind of a game starts to develop here, and that is always a problem for your Terran. For if you are a Terran and your opponent has that double reinforcement route, it is very, very difficult for you to really make a quality push. You've got to be very, very decisive and very, very quick because of the how many units that can come from a flanking position. Celeste really needs to keep that in mind. I actually would love to see Jangbi go for a recall here. He knows Last has been very, very delayed in his game plan. His tank number's not where it's supposed to be at this point. At this point, Last was probably thinking that he would be pushing out at about now. But Jangbi, if he goes for a recall, this could be very effective to keep Last back just that much longer and let his 5 bases just continue to roll. Which obviously, 5 base on 3 base. If he can keep that rolling, he'll be in an even stronger position if he has just a averagely effective recall, which I would love to see. Observers spreading out across the map, trying to see if Last maybe took another base, just trying to investigate what's going on. And it looks like Last is trying to prepare for possible recall, throwing down some mines in his factories as well as in his supply depot lines. But Jangbi just continue to macro up, maxed out now, throwing down lots of gateways there at the bottom right. So it looks like looking at the size of that blob, we haven't seen it. I'm thinking that there's probably like 10 gateways down there, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 gateways there. It looks like we got another... Looks like we got 21 gateways out right now for Jangbi. I believe Best has the record with like 26. I think that's right. I think 26 is the record that Best set against Flash. I think he had 26 gateways in one of those games. So Jangbi getting pretty close to that number right now. He's got a ton of gateways. You can see like the money just piling up right now. 4,000 resources in the bank as opposed to 3,000 for Last. So Last is doing very, very well as in addition to in terms of his resource count. And Jangbi coming in here for an attack. Gonna come in here, gonna try and take down at least some of the front tanks, and a huge stasis going off on the back, and some more Zealots still coming in here, so Jangbi can continue with the assault, is going to do so until the Zealots run out. The Zealots do go down, so now Jangbi backs off. Took down just a few of the tanks, did not do a ton of damage there, but he will be able to reinforce this very, very quickly. You can see him already macroing up like a fiend and trying to make sure that his supply count doesn't go down too low. On the other side, we do see Last pushing out now. Here he comes with his units, is going to start pushing across the map. Will he go towards the natural expansion? Will he go towards the new bases in the bottom right? He is going to go towards the new bases, and Jangbi actually setting up for the top right as well. So Jangbi just continuing to try and set up his positions across the map in terms of bases, and actually coming in here with like a pseudo flank, is actually going to catch some tanks out of position, and is going to be able to knock off a few of them, which is going to be so important. Every tank that goes down is precious for Last, and some Zealots coming in here as well. They're going to get right into the tank line, so this is looking very, very bad for Last right now, losing lots of tanks. Cannot afford this, cannot afford to lose the tanks. These are the absolute critical backbone of your forces as a Terran player. You need to keep those tanks alive, and several more tanks do go down, and Jangbi continuing to macro forces. He's still got money, still got gateways producing, so the tanks that come out of stasis are now on the move as well. But look at that, this is just ridiculous. Look at that, another control group. He's got a control group of units that's built every round from each base, and there is so much money flowing into Jangbi, so much stuff that he's producing right now. Just needs time basically for another round to produce. Here comes Last coming in here to the bottom left. He's gonna go for the main. And a huge mine goes off. Does a lot of damage to a lot of those Zealots. Don't discount how much damage that really did. And here come the Zealots coming in from both positions, and they are going to get right into the tank line, and they are going to do a ton of damage once more. It looks like we have a mine drag at the bottom, but no, not even going to matter if the mines are going to drag, but it doesn't make any difference at all. All of the tanks do go down, and Last is now in huge trouble. I don't even know if that's descriptive enough. Last is on just an awful position. This is like This is going to be really, really tough for him to come back from. Let's just put it that way. He is going to struggle so much. He's lost so many of his tanks that even though it's close on supply count, tanks take a long time to build. It takes a while. They are not prepared that quickly, so it takes a while, and you're going to be losing economic ground every second that you don't have those tanks available. So we do see the vultures coming in here to the bottom right, going to start doing some economic harassment. Are going to pick off a bunch of probes, and that will help him, certainly. But he is still in huge trouble, and he's going to lose the science vessel here. It looks like probably, perhaps, almost here, maybe. I don't know. Close. It's running away, and it yeah, still hasn't died. I love this. I love this random gateway cannon here at the top right. That's just amusing. He is going to go down to vultures though. But Last still hasn't managed to take any of these bases at the top right. Hasn't bothered. Looks like he is going to stop the 6th base. He's going to take down the 6th base of Jangbi. But, yeah, we do have another command center build. Looks like he's going to get ready to float that away. And I think it's time that Last just goes for it. Just floats that command center over to the top right and tries to take it. I think it's a necessary at this point. He just has a lot of idle SCVs right now. And Vulture's really doing a good job here of stopping this bottom right base. But the Nexus does survive, so Jangbi will be able to continue producing from it. And some more Dragoons coming in to defend that area, and so that is going to be effective as well. Jangbi is going to re-solidify his bases at the bottom right, and Last starting to regrow his tank count, so is preparing for another push out, and this will probably be a more defensive push out. We'll probably see him float the command center over to the top right while he pushes out, and we'll probably see a quicker retreat out of Last. See him fall back and try and establish a defensive position. But it looks like Jangbi has no intention of letting that happen. His forces are positioned very, very well to stop Last from being able to adequately defend that top right base. And Vultures come in here, actually do manage to pick off that Nexus. So very, very nice play there by Last, able to pick off that Nexus. His Vultures are going to get picked off by the army of Jangbi, but still a nice play overall. We do see the command center being floated over there to the top right. Jangbi does have a Zealot there, able to see that when that command center does get into position. The mains are mined out. The natural is mined out of Last. The natural almost mined out for Jangbi, and but Jangbi does have those 2 bases at the bottom right that right now are the difference in the economies and the difference in the supply, the difference in the money that's going on right now. Jangbi is remaxed, and Last is most certainly not even close. Not even close. Sitting on 2,000 gas, but there's nothing that he can really pour that gas into right now. Yeah, he could maybe use a couple more science vessels, but he doesn't need a lot more. Mostly he needs more tanks. More tanks. That's what he needs more than anything else. And Jangbi coming in here for another attack, coming in here with a lot of Zealots, and an offensive recall there, an army recall right of Zealots right into the back line there. I love it. That is awesome. I want to see that more often. I don't know why it isn't used more often to get your Zealots back there. I think that was awesome, and that is going to be game. GG from Last. Jangbi, hyper aggressive, managing to take down a player in Last who I think that game actually defended himself quite admirably. He played very, very well, defended himself in some positions where I really thought that he was going to lose, and made it difficult for Jangbi to finish that game off. But he does. But Jangbi does manage to finish it and does manage to even the series up 1-1. So very, very well played by Jangbi, the Almighty, able to get a win and even the series out. We're going to go on to the 3rd set, see who gets to take an advantage in the series. I will see you guys all there.